We all want to live in a gorgeous, relaxing oasis, even if it comes with a hefty price tag. But there's so much more to a property than just its looks. You need to make sure your new home is safe and secure. This week, our industry expert is Kristjan Byfield, and he is going to tell us exactly what to look out for and what to avoid. Welcome to the show, Kristjan.
Hi guys, thanks for having me.
So, when a tenant is looking around a property for the first time, what are the things that they should be really looking out for?
Well, I think the crucial thing is they've just got to ask questions. You know, every single tenant is going to require something a little bit different, and every property is unique. So, you know, from the moment you get in that door, start asking questions. Do you need parking? Is the furniture staying? You know, are there going to be curtains in the property? Whatever it is, you as a tenant know what you need. So make sure you ask the agent and you get the answers you need so you can make an informed decision.
Okay, so say there's something that they do want changing. Should they ask the agent there and then, or is that something to be discussed with the landlord maybe when the contract's signed?
Any request, you know, you want to get those in right at the start, because when it comes to offering on a property, it's all part of a consideration for a landlord. Definitely don't wait till after the contract starts, and definitely don't presume something's going to be done. You know, so if you see a scuffed wall, don't presume it's going to be repainted. Ask your agent, who in turn will probably ask the landlord and come back to you. And agency fees vary enormously across the whole of the country. So it's really, really important that as a tenant you understand all of the financials involved with securing the property that you've taken a liking to.
Yeah. And the deposit, can there be some variation there?
It does vary. I think outside of London, it's pretty standard for most people to be required to pay a month's rent as a deposit, but inside London it's very, very common that you'll pay at least 6 weeks. And then there are other caveats. You know, if you have pets or other certain criteria may require the landlord to ask for additional deposit just to sort of protect them against uncertainties.
So now we've got the inside sorted, what about the outside? When a tenant's checking out a property, a well-kept garden or outside space can really add extra appeal.
Most council and housing association landlords insist that tenants keep their garden to a satisfactory standard as part of their tenancy agreement. So what if you're a tenant with green fingers? Well, we've got a whole host of gardening and planting ideas that will really give your home that wow factor. So let's go get our fingers messy. Now, we've asked our viewers to send in their questions for our industry expert, Kristjan Byfield, to answer. So welcome back, Kristjan.
Hi guys.
So the first question is from Marty, and he asked, can an agent raise a rent without consulting the landlord?
Yes, there can be rent negotiations, but an agent should never act outside of what a landlord wants or is really knowledgeable of them doing. So, in short, no, an agent can't really act against a landlord's wishes.
And if they did want to change the rent, how much notice would you need to give the tenants?
Usually you'll start this about 2 to 3 months beforehand, because if a tenant's not agreeable to a rent increase and an agreement can't be reached, the landlord or agent's going to have to serve notice, which is at least 2 months, and then start the process about remarketing and looking for a new tenant at their desired new rent level.
And the second question is from Phillimore Jive, who asked, how do I ask my landlord to shorten the lease before I sign it?
The moment you contact a landlord or an agent, make it very clear what period of contract you're seeking for a property, and they'll very quickly know whether that's something they can help you with or not. Eviction doesn't come into it. It's not an eviction notice. A Section 21 is just a very standard piece of paper that sets out a definitive end date of your tenancy agreement. Now, with regards to leaving early, the bottom line is that is the end of your contract. So you might be able to get out early, but it will be entirely at the discretion of the landlord or the agent.
Now finally, Barry asks, when it comes to HMOs, how are the bills worked out?
So HMOs, which is houses in multiple occupancy, usually it's a bit of a sort of hotel setup, and by that I mean that you usually pay a fee and that incorporates everything, including your bills. So that's the typical setup I would expect. The second most common setup would be your sort of prepaid card meter. So as a tenant, you have complete control, you know what you're spending for an HMO, but it will depend entirely uniquely on the landlord of the property itself, and the agent handling it.
Something like broadband, would that likely be organised by the individual tenants within a property or with the landlords?
I've known several landlords who set up one connection for the building, all the tenants get the Wi-Fi password and they all have use of it. Or obviously in a house share, then typically you'd have one connection, you guys set that up and you guys are responsible for it. So again, it is unique to that property and that landlord.
If a tenant was sort of refusing to pay or being a bit awkward with the other occupants of the household with bills and things like that, what would happen?
HMOs are slightly different. Usually it's sort of an individual person because it's sort of a room basis. So usually you'll have an individual agreement for your room. There usually won't be multiple parties in.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you. We'll be sure to send your queries to our industry experts via the Tenant's Voice on Facebook.